The wind moved like a slow breath through the empty streets. It carried a faint, metallic hum that sounded almost like a voice. Elsie felt it in her chest. The village had always treated the bell tower as something to keep distance from, a place for warnings and old stories. Elsie had never listened to those warnings. The bells had been calling her for as long as she could remember. Tom walked beside her, hands shoved deep in his pockets. He kept glancing up at the dark shape of the tower until his neck ached. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered. The question trembled in the thin air between them. "People say the bellkeeper doesn't like visitors." Elsie's jaw was set. Her heart thumped like the rhythm of the hum. "I have to know," she said. "It feels like something is missing. The bells might tell me what it is." They reached the square. The tower rose above them, older than the houses and older than the trees. Its stones had been blackened by rain and time. Around the base, the cobbles vibrated, a low pulse that traveled through bones. The hum grew louder, a steady, living tone that made their teeth ache. A figure appeared in the doorway, as if he had been waiting within the shadow all along. He was tall and thin, wrapped in a cloak, whose edges looked like they had been cut by winter. His hat cast his face in shadow. Iron keys hung from his neck, jingling faintly with every small movement. "You should not be here," he said. His voice sounded hollow and close, like the inside of a drum. "These bells are not for children to play with." Elsie didn't step back. She felt the cold of the stones under her soles, and the heat of something stubborn in her chest. "I'm not here to play," she answered. "I want to understand." The bell-keeper studied her for a long moment. He smelled faintly of oil and old wood. Then, with a slow motion of his hand, he opened the heavy doors. They creaked like old teeth. The invitation held something like danger, and something like relief. Inside, the air was colder. The hum surrounded them, and seemed to come from everywhere at once. Every stone held a thin film of dust. Bells filled the chamber, hanging from beams and resting on the floor, some small as a teacup, some heavy and pitted as a boulder. Each bell was covered in lines and symbols that seemed to pulse with a dim light, as if they were breathing. "The bells hold memories," the keeper said in a whisper that barely stirred the air. "Each one keeps a secret, some are kind, some are not. Some truths wake the same way storms wake." Elsie reached for a small silver bell, because the light on it trembled like a promise. The moment her fingers closed around it, a picture came to her like a slap. A warm kitchen, the smell of bread, a child's laugh. Images that felt familiar and impossible at once. She staggered back, heart racing, tears hot and sudden. Tom reached for a brass bell and saw himself running through fields. He had no memory of until that moment, running with someone whose face dissolved like smoke. The keeper watched without moving. "They show what the heart searches for," he said. "But be warned, some things cannot be carried back the same." They spent hours among the bells. They learned small, quiet things first. The color of a forgotten dress, a lullaby with a missing line, the sound of rain on a roof that had fallen years ago. Those memories fit like worn shoes. Then came the heavier ones, promises broken, nights spent waiting, names that had been taken away. Every bell left a trace, some soothed, some burned. At the center of the room hung the tallest bell, black as river mud and large enough to swallow a man. The keeper expression changed when they approached it. His voice was softer. "This one does not give you what you want. It shows what must be faced." Elsie put her palm on the bell. It was cold and alive, like metal that held breaths. She pulled the clapper free and let it fall. The sound that flowed out was not like any other bell she had heard. It began deep and slow, a note that seemed to mirror the pulse in her ribs. It filled the tower and moved outward, through the walls, and the sleeping village, and for a moment everything stopped. Leaves held in the air, a cat paused mid-step, time like a held breath. Inside that note, pictures collided. She saw the tower as it had been built, the faces of people who had chosen to lock away memories. Inside metal to keep them safe from pain. She saw the keeper, young once, choosing to hold a lonely vigil, so others could live without heavy memory. She saw the cost of that choice, the slowing of life, the thinness of the keeper's days, the quiet hunger in his eyes that the bells could not fill. When the sound faded, Elsie felt changed. She had seen where the bells came from, and what they asked of those who tended them.